When I say actually running ads, you have boosted posts, and a boosted post is just what it says. It just boosts it. People will see it, and it's very, very cheap. When I run an actual ad, I might run a DM ad, or I might run it to an opt-in page. So this right here is one of our DM ads that we're running. And so you might see this on Instagram, and then when you click on it, it actually sends you an automated message with the DM and then sends you to one of our funnels. The upside of this is they come directly to you. The downside is it's a little bit more expensive, right? And so this isn't a great place for beginners to start. But those are the 3 ways that you're able to start getting leads, and it's easier than ever before. So no matter whether you have $0 or tens of thousands of dollars to spend, you can find people to buy your product. And then once you push those individuals to the call, you just want to follow this simple structure. Okay. So I'm going to take you through what I call sales framework. So there's really 7 steps. It's pretty simple. First one is intro or pre-frame. So I might say, hey, John, glad you're on the call. Point here's to understand your goal and what you're struggling with, what you tried before. If at the end of the call, you feel what we do is a great fit, awesome. If not, that's okay too. I just want to help you make a good decision. And if you feel it's a fit, let's do it. If you don't, no problem. Then we go into discovery. In discovery, you really want to understand the full situation. So I want to ask what their goal is, what they're struggling with, what they've tried, those types of things. But the key things is why now, why today? You know, like why not wait a year? I want to get a commitment that if it's a fit, they're going to move forward today. And then I also like asking about opportunity costs. Because a lot of times when people come on the call, they don't want to make decisions. And I also get a commitment about opportunity costs. So, hey, you know, you've been holding out on hiring someone for 6 months. Maybe you could add an extra $10,000 a month. That's $60,000 a month you lost out on. That's a big opportunity cost. The goal is to ask the questions to understand the situation, and then also make sure that if they do feel it's a fit, they'll move forward at the end of the call. All right. And as you take sales calls and you're talking to individuals, the questions will become obvious of what to ask, because if they get to the end and they don't buy, the whole point is to figure out what question do you need to ask in the beginning of discovery to get them to buy at the end. It's not always getting better at objections. Yeah, that's part of it. But if I continue to get the same objection, then that means I need to ask better questions at the beginning to beat that objection. I'm not going to say, you're stupid, the sky is green, it's not blue. That doesn't convince people. I might say, well, why do you think the sky is blue? Just because everyone else says it doesn't mean it's true, does it? And then I can bring something else up that everyone says this, but that didn't make it true. Do you remember when everyone thought the world was flat, but it's actually round? So why would you think the sky is blue just because everyone says that? You see what I mean? So you use questions to convince people. You don't convince people by telling them what to do. So that's discovery. Then we do what I call a summary. So I just say, cool, so now I'm through those sections. Here's your goal. Here's what you're struggling with. Here's what you tried. If we can fix it, you'll move forward. Yes? Great. And then we go into what we call the 3 pillars. All right. The 3 pillars is just the top 3 reasons why someone should work with you. And you want to do it in a, here's what they do versus we do frame. Meaning, if I'm selling how to do cartwheels, okay, or how to do, let's do gymnastics, something weird. I would say most gymnastic coaches do this. I do this, and this is why it's better. That's the first reason. The second reason is most gymnastic coaches do this, and I do this. This is why it's better. And then the third reason is most coaches do this, and I do this. This is why it's better. You want to have 3 reasons. So for example, when I was on the rise and I was selling consulting to only trainers, right? Now I actually do consulting for all kinds of businesses. But when I was only doing consulting for trainers, one of the things I said was, look, most people don't know how to build their offer as a trainer, right? You're selling low ticket packages, you have to sell high ticket. If you don't sell high ticket, you're not gonna make any money. Number 2 is getting consistent lead generation. Most coaches are teaching you to run these webinars, they don't work. I'm gonna teach you something I call convergent conversation, and it's gonna get you 70% more applications. And then number 3 is I built a multi-million-dollar fitness company. Most of these guys haven't. And so when I explain that to people, a lot of them are like, yeah, that makes sense. Right? It's logical. So you want to have 3 points, and that's going to be the section I call the 3 pillars. After the 3 pillars, you're going to go into what I call a brief overview, right? So the overview is very simple. It's just, hey, here's what you're going to get in the program. You're going to get a coach, you're going to get, a base camp, you're going to get project management, just enough so they understand what they're buying, right? People don't care what they're getting, but they want to have at least a concept. So if I go to someone and say, blow up my YouTube, I don't really care what he teaches me. I just want to know that, okay, how many calls do I get? Do I get this? Just a very basic understanding for maybe 5 minutes. And then after that, I create as much certainty as possible. So, hey, now that you've heard anything, how do you feel? Does it sound like a fit? And they're either going to go, oh, it's amazing, very high certainty, or they go, yeah, it's pretty good, low certainty, which means I need to raise that as high as possible before dropping the price. And then I'll drop the price. And if they give you any type of objection, you train on price, spouse, time, or belief.